At midday tomorrow, Liz Truss will officially become Britain's new Prime Minister. The Foreign Secretary beat former finance chief Rishi Sunak in a vote by Conservative Party members, a group that makes up less than 0.3% of the population. Truss will travel to Scotland Tuesday to meet with the Queen, who will charge her with forming a government. Outgoing Prime Minister Boris Johnson will be there just ahead of her, handing in his resignation. A little earlier, we got the latest from Benedict Pavio in London.
Liz Truss will be the new UK Prime Minister after beating Rishi Sunak in the Tory leadership contest. So tonight, the United Kingdom has a PM in waiting. Speaking after her victory, she thanked Sunak for a hard-fought contest, said it was an honour to have been elected Tory leader. As the Conservatives have the most seats in the House of Commons, she will also become Prime Minister, but not before Boris Johnson has resigned. And that is the sequence we will see tomorrow. Kick-off in Downing Street, an early morning last address, a farewell to the nation by Boris Johnson, who will then take a plane to Balmoral in Scotland to see the Queen and tender his resignation. Then, a few minutes later, it will be Liz Truss who will meet the Queen, the head of state, for an audience, and the head of state, the 96-year-old monarch, who has health problems and cannot travel at the moment, will ask Liz Truss to form a government. Liz Truss will take a government plane from Scotland back to London, and we expect an address around about 4 p.m. London time in Downing Street, and perhaps a little bit more details on this bold plan, she says, to tackle soaring energy costs. She's pledged to deliver on this crisis. She may also announce as soon as Thursday fundamental reforms of the UK's energy market. So a momentous day today, Monday, another one to come for this 15th Prime Minister, Liz Truss, the UK's third female Prime Minister.
Benedict Pavio there in London. Well, Liz Truss's appointment comes as the main concern for many Brits is the soaring cost of everyday life. Olivia Salazar-Winspear takes a look at how the news of her appointment has been rippling through the British public.
It might have been a resounding vote of confidence from her party, but on the streets of London there was less of a sense of celebration as Liz Truss was announced the UK's new Prime Minister.
Liz Truss won't be able to do anything better or even worse than Johnson has been doing. So they're all new career politicians, so they haven't got the background to make important decisions on policy. There's nothing, it's just empty rhetoric.
Either Truss or Rishi, not interested in either of them, not interested in the Tories. General election now, get it done before Christmas, get a change of government in.
Others were more optimistic, at least from a financial perspective.
As someone who is British but who actually doesn't live here and lives in France, my first reaction was to look at the money market to see what they think. And they seem to be relatively content, so I suppose all is well.
There were words of welcome from Brussels, with EU officials expressing their hope that Liz Truss will stick to the Brexit agreements and build a better relationship with Europe. Despite Truss's pledge to maintain much existing foreign policy on the war in Ukraine, for example, most experts agree that it's issues closer to home that need to be tackled urgently.
The economy looks like it's heading into recession. People are very worried about their gas and electricity bills in particular, but also food bills are a problem for many people. So forcing the choice between heating and eating, some people would suggest. She's going to have to come up with something very quickly on that, probably this week.
And despite a very public snub of Emmanuel Macron last month, when Truss said he was neither friend nor foe to the UK, the French president extended his congratulations to someone with whom he's hoping to work with as, quote, friends and allies.
Well, a little earlier, I spoke to Denzel Davidson, who served as special advisor to Theresa May and Boris Johnson's governments. I started by getting his reaction to Liz Truss's victory.
I think no one was very surprised by the outcome. It was much closer, though, than many had predicted. So now she faces an immediate storm, which is going to have to grapple with the storm of the coming cost of living crisis and the economic problems ahead. And so really her first weeks are going to be crucial for her whole premiership.
And what do you think about what we know of her economic plans so far?
Well, she is by instinct a tax cutter and a deregulator, and that's how she sees the answer to the problem of growth. Both Conservatives and the Labour Party now see the lack of growth as the big problem for Britain's economy. But of course, it's all very well to be in favour of growth. The question is how you deliver it. And her answer will be, as she said, tax cuts and deregulation. Whether that'll be enough, though, is yet to be seen.
Now, there remain many politicians within the Tory party that don't support Liz Truss. What might she do to try and unite her party, and what's going to happen if she can't do that?
Well, that's a very good and very interesting question. It isn't clear from the briefings that have taken place about her policy or whom she's going to appoint to her cabinet that she's going to do a great deal to unite her party. Her instinct seems to be to surround herself with her allies, to secure Boris Johnson supporters, and then full steam ahead with her policy of tax cuts and deregulation, but no doubt adapted to circumstances. Now, what she has in her favour is that a general election is only 2 years away, and MPs know that disunited parties lose elections. So if they undermine their Prime Minister and show that the Conservative Party is disunited, then they increase the chances of losing their seats, of terminating their careers as politicians. So she will hope that that is a strong enough incentive to keep her party disciplined.
European leaders, meanwhile, are concerned that Liz Truss could try and deviate from the Northern Ireland Protocol. How likely do you think that is, and would that be a wise choice on her part?
I think it is highly likely that she will try to. It's the expectation on both sides of the Channel. There will be an effort for a fresh start from Brussels and other European capitals, but right now they are not hopeful. However, as Prime Minister, she will face an obstacle to her plans, to legislation she's trying to get through Parliament in the House of Lords, which will profoundly amend or perhaps simply block the bill. That has the effect of delaying it and delaying it nearer the next general election. So she will face choices about a great deal of compromise internally, which would go some way, perhaps a long way, to reassuring the EU's fears, or having to play a longer game in the context where she's also facing an economic crisis. And many would think that adding a trade war to that would be unwise.